Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. So finally we've got the news about the nerfs. I'm surprised it's taken this long. We're all kind of expecting things to change, and honestly there are no surprises here. Blizzard is going to be doing these nerfs tomorrow, so on the 22nd of May this will go live. So maybe when you're watching this video they'll already be live, these nerfs. But Rogue is going to be the big hitter, so let's get straight into it and I'll show you the first card. First card is the Evil Miscreant, and you know, a lot of people predicted that this card would be a problem, or is a problem, and will be nerfed. And it's a 3 mana 1/5 at the moment, and they're changing it to a 3 mana 1/4. So I like this nerf. I think it's fine because the card on its own isn't awful. The problem is the 5 health is just really hard for your opponent to remove. If this comes down on turn 2 with the coin, you play coin 3, your opponent can't often remove it. And the Miscreant always gives you lackeys into your hand that can actually, one can transform this into a 4-drop, which is then OP because it hasn't died because it's got 5 health. And another one can give it +1 attack, so it becomes a 5/2. So that already creates some issues. So a 3 mana 1/5 that gives you 2 lackeys in your hand, and the game's proven that the lackeys are very good cards. They're very good to have, especially in Rogue. Just 1 mana cards to activate your combos. They can activate your raiding party, they can activate your SI7 agent. Miscreant I think is one that could have got away with it without being changed. I don't think this is the main target, but I'm quite happy that it has been nerfed. I think this is still a very, very playable card. Rogue is going to take a big hit I'll show you the other cards. But this card, if you want to play lackeys in your Rogue, you're still going to play it. It's not dead, it's still fine, and I think it's just more fair. So this next card is actually the main culprit and the reason for the nerfs, in my opinion, and it's Raiding Party. Raiding Party has become very strong in this expansion. It didn't come out in this expansion, but with the inclusion of Waggle Pick, the 4 attack weapon, it makes Rogue so strong. And when you've got an aggro deck like Rogue, if you're adding card draw to it, that makes the class really strong because they're just constantly playing minions onto the board. And Raiding Party now draws your Waggle Pick, and it draws 2 pirates, and you can play the Dread Corsairs for free if you've equipped your Waggle Pick. So that whole combo is just so strong. And Preparation makes your Raiding Party free. Preparation, play a 0 mana card, draw 3 cards. It's so overpowered. So I'm really happy to see this one being nerfed. I think it's good for the state of the game. They didn't nerf this one very much though. They made it 4 mana, so it only rise from 3 to 4 mana. So actually the card is still quite playable. Now there's another card that's getting nerfed I'll go into next, which actually does make this much worse. But I think this nerf here, they could have made it worse. They could have made it 5 mana, to be honest. They could have made this card a 5 mana card. Because it's so strong, drawing 3 cards, all of which you can play on turn 4 together, like 2 Dread Corsairs plus your Waggle Pick, with so much damage, it needed to be done. So I alluded to this next nerf when we were talking about Raiding Party, and it is Preparation. Finally, Preparation is sadly going to get a nerf. And I'm a little bit sad about this because it's a classic card, it's part of Rogue's identity. And what it does is next spell you cast this turn costs 3 less. So obviously with Raiding Party you can cast that for 0 mana. But now they're changing Preparation as well, so the next spell you cast this turn costs 2 less. So that means that if you're playing Preparation Raiding Party, you have to have 2 mana left over for your Raiding Party. So Preparation only reduces it from 4 mana down to 2 now, which actually really makes that combo so much fairer and less broken. So it really is a good kind of nerf to that whole package for Rogue. I think these changes they're doing are really going to kill Rogue. I think you could still play that deck. I think it would still work, but it's not going to be as strong, and it's going to be so much easier for other aggro decks just to compete. I think something like Murloc Shaman could be quite good against Rogue now, because Rogue just won't just be able to overpower them instantly by turn 3. So this is a classic card, and like I said, it's been around in Rogue for so long. It's always been really powerful, but I feel like it's a bit of a big step to nerf this. I mean, Blizzard's done it with Druid. We saw a lot of the classic cards get nerfed in Druid with Naturalize. Nourish and Wild Growth, etc. So it kind of fits in with that. They're looking to move the game in a different direction. I mean, one way to look at it is we've played with preparation for 5 years. Maybe we should try and play with something else. Because if they don't change it, we'll always play with preparation. Always. But I never really saw it as too much of an issue. It is a problem with Raiding Party, but they could have fixed that potentially just by changing Raiding Party. Now, preparation doesn't affect cards like Eviscerate. You can still use Eviscerate for 0 mana because that's only a 2 mana spell. Sap is another one, but it's not that great. It's really the more expensive spells that you want to use preparation on. And, you know, this kind of is a nerf to Sprint as well. Sprint is a 7 mana card, often on the cusp of being playable. You can't play it in a lot of decks. Some decks you need it for the draw, but you never really want to play 7 mana for it. You play it so you can preparation play it for 4. Now it's going to cost you 5, so maybe that card's going to be a little bit dead as well, or only in specific decks that desperately need the card draw. So yeah, this one's a bit sad for me. Maybe I think potentially they could have just nerfed Raiding Party a bit more and not preparation, but you know, it leaves room for new cards to come into Rogue, and hopefully we'll see it move in a different direction. So that's Rogue, and next up is another culprit in the game, and that is Archivist Elysiana, and I'm not surprised to see this one being nerfed either. I think the card itself is pretty awesome. Like, I was really excited when it was announced. I really look forward to playing this card and just making some funny decks and just doing some crazy things. But what happened was Control Warrior just was able to use Baleful Banker or the Youthful Brewmaster both at 2 mana, bounce them back into your hand or bounce it back into your deck, so you can just keep playing Elysiana, and it kind of didn't really fit with the spirit of the card. We've seen in the Grandmasters tournament this week, if you've been watching on Twitch, Warrior versus Warrior is just so boring. You just wait until they play Elysiana and see who gets the best things out of their Elysiana, basically. So now they're nerfing this from 8 mana to 9 mana. So yes, you can still do the combos I talked about with the coin, but you can't. That's not a consistent strategy because only half the players get to use the coin because only one person starts with it, and you can never predict when you're going to get the coin. So it's not a viable strategy to put a Baleful Banker or a Youthful Brewmaster with this anymore. Now, yes, Rogue could bounce it back with a Shadow Step, but that's not really a deck that wants to do that, or a class that wants to do that. So yes, I think making it 9 mana is a much better way to use this card because it's kind of like a deck that wants to go a bit longer. Yes, you can use this. A deck that wants to destroy the bombs that have been put into your deck or any Hakar Bloods, yes, you can play this to still do that. But you can't just abuse it by playing it multiple times unless you kind of have a much more complicated setup. So for the good of the game, yes, I like this. I didn't like seeing this card so much in the meta. It feels to me like a special card that you would want to create some fun decks around, like meme type decks. You do want it to be good and be playable, but when everybody starts playing this on the ladder, that is kind of not when I don't think that's a good thing. So this is a nerf to Warrior. Warrior can still be good because they can still use it. I don't think it's a huge nerf to Warrior. It just means that they don't have that like extra long gameplay. And I think, to be honest, if you're playing a Warrior Mirror, you'll still play Elysiana. The only reason people were bouncing it into their deck was because the other player could bounce it into their deck, but now neither player can. I just don't think it will affect the strategy of that deck too much. So that's all of the nerfs. Ultimately, I agree with all of these. I think preparation was a little bit on the cusp, but I'm really glad to see the other ones get nerfed. To be honest, I think Leroy has kind of got away with it here. I was expecting maybe Leroy to be on there. They have kind of nerfed Leroy by making Rogue so much worse, so we'll see less Leroy. But I saw Leroy as a big problem in the meta just because I like the card as it is. It's fun to be able to do these kind of Shadow Step, kill your opponent. But when there's a top deck in the meta like Rogue was, and everybody is playing it, if you're playing games on the ladder, if you're playing like for a week, over that period of a week, you've probably died 10 or 20 times to a Leroy, and it's just not fun. You know, it's just not fun to constantly die to Leroy over and over again. So it just always feels bad, really. That's what I think about it. But it's got away with the nerf, so it can still be played, but again, we'll see less of it because I think we'll see less of Rogue. Now, Blizzard has said if you own any of these cards, after they've made the nerfs, you have 2 weeks to disenchant them and they'll give you the full value of that card back. So yes, you can get all your dust refund. Now I know that's not great for some free-to-play players if you've crafted a rogue deck and now you can't play that anymore. It is upsetting, but ultimately I have to say for the good of the game, it's really important that they do these changes, because after tomorrow we'll play again on ladder and the game will be different. There'll be new classes emerging. Classes that couldn't play because of rogue can now be played. Rogue will take a step back. I think mage was already very playable. I think will still be quite strong. The summoner mage in particular. I think shaman will be quite good. Maybe Murloc shaman could be played a little bit more. Control shaman can still play 2 Elysianas, remember, so they haven't actually had a nerf because all they need to do is play it once and then play Shadowwalk to play the second one, so that deck doesn't really get affected. But ultimately I'm excited about the changes. I think they took a little bit longer than they needed to this time for the nerf, but I'm happy. I've been happy with Rise of Shadows. I think it's been a great expansion. We were all getting excited about the rotation, and it didn't let me down, actually. Rogue was the only problem, but I saw it as a much less of a problem as it's been previously in the game. Previous metas have just been boring, especially the last one. The Hunter meta, I think, really kind of ground me down. But, yep, this is good. We'll see a lot less rogues. We're going to see some new decks. You'll still see warrior and mage, but ultimately good changes. So let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Do you think there should have been any other cards that could have been nerfed? Do you agree with these nerfs? Hopefully you're all happy. I'm pretty happy myself, and I hope you are too. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.